It's C-Doc again.
Ladies and gents, it is Tuesday night, and yes, indeed, you are in the place to be. It's C-Doc again. I'm your host, C-Doc. Welcome to the show. Got another great show ready for you tonight. Looking forward to this one. I always say that because I'm always looking forward to it, man. This is an honor and a privilege to talk to the people we get to talk to. Man, it's just great stuff. And, we're trying to tell these stories, let the people know the history behind music, artists, DJs, what have you. But I don't do it alone. No, not at all. I am joined by my co-hosts and including, of course, the gal that got her start in classic rap radio, our lady from the heyday of K-Day, coming from the West Side, Jennifer O. Jenny.
What up, what up, what up?
Peace signs.
Oh, should I?
Yeah, there you go.
Should I West Side it?
That's what I was waiting for, yeah.
West Side? Yep, there we go.
That's what I was waiting for, yeah. Yes. How are things, Jennifer?
Things are thinging.
All right. That's a good answer.
Mm-hmm. Things are absolutely thinging.
Well, then I guess you can't ask for more than that.
Really, if you do, fuck around and find out.
There it is. Indeed. All right.
Uh-huh.
Also joining us tonight, our co-host, who is one of the founders of the fantastic podcast, People's Distinctive Travels, Distinctive People's Travels, thanks to Sugar Bear. Ladies and gentlemen, Ultramag 7.
That never gets old.
No, man, it's like, it just kind of rolls out.
Here comes the interpretator.
Yeah.
It kind of tumbles out.
Is what it is.
How's it going tonight, sir?
Good. It's full springtime. I'm getting busy a little bit, but other than that, things are good.
Gotta get busy getting busy.
I was gonna say, sounds like a personal problem. Really.
Get busy.
Pause.
Ultramag, what have you been listening to lately? What's been in rotation?
Actually, I'm listening to this guy named Burner, Burna. You can find him on Instagram at Burner, Burna_SMS. He's got this EP called Stay Righteous.
Did you mention him before?
No, I think.
Okay.
No, I didn't mention him before.
Okay.
And then there's a young brother from Florida named Darius T. Witt. I think you can find him on Instagram, Darius T. Witt Official. And he's always putting out various singles and EPs. He's got this whole movement, Coffee at Night, and he's got some good music. So I've been listening to both of those gentlemen's music.
Fantastic. That's good, man. It's always good to check in because I know you're always on some of the finding some good stuff.
Yeah.
If you will. What, Jennifer? You're muted.
Duh. On some other shit. Is what I said.
Some other shit. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. I do know that we have to wish Grandmaster Kaz a happy birthday. Happy belated.
Yep. Happy birthday to GMC.
Casanova Fly.
Yes.
Exactly. I know that.
It would be great if he would finally come on the show.
It would be.
Because we've been trying to get him since last year, I think.
It would be odd, but it would be,
Yeah. We'll get there. Yep.
Is this Mara?
Oh, yeah. What is it? What the hell?
Yeah, she got really excited when I said things are thinging. Otherwise, it's fuck around and find out.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, she's on Twitch.
So that's what got her all woohoo.
The missus is on Twitch tonight. Okay. I was like, gotcha. Oh, Rise from Spit. What up, Nick? Also, our other co-host for the evening, the man behind Hip Hop Gods Radio and the president of Rap Station. YouTube's not working. That's not good. Oh, for you. Okay.
Oh.
I was gonna say.
I was like, wait a second.
Yes. Our
Houston,
other
we have a problem.
right. Oh, damn it. Coming from the Northwest side, Flatline.
Oh, just like that. Kapow.
Just like that, man. Just like that.
There you go.
Yeah.
My introduction got goofy there.
Back
He knows
together
no
again.
you need no introduction.
Got the band back together, man. Every week.
Yep.
We're like the Beatles.
Ultra Mag, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing fine, my friend. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
We have a little tit for tat going on.
Oh man, you guys are funny.
It cracks us up. I mean, yeah.
Definitely follow these guys on Instagram because a splendid time is guaranteed for all.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
Don't follow me though. I'm boring.
Well, you always post who's going to be on the show, so that's not bad.
Well, and I posted last night about the rare appearance of R.A. the Rugged Man.
Yeah.
And the even rarer appearance, more rare? The rarer
Rarer.
appearance of one Yag Fu Front.
Yeah. Live on
with
stage.
R.A. the Rugged Man.
Wow.
It was crazy.
The action-packed adventure promo tape?
Tape.
Damn.
You know what? I think I had that. That's what's bugging me out right now.
Oh, really?
You think you have or had?
Yeah, I think I had it because I was doing college radio when that came out.
Oh yeah.
And I remember that design, unless it was someone else's tape that looked like that, but with the A and the B.
Right, it was Mercury. I don't know if it was a standard for them. So
yeah,
maybe I took it from you, Flatline. maybe I broke it and took it.
Maybe you did.
Never know.
There's something wrong with both of you, I think.
I know, right? It's great.
Well, I'm not gonna. Our guest is waiting patiently in the green room while you guys blather on about your cassettes.
Our Yag fronts.
Yes, the Yag fronts. Now, so yeah, let's bring him in. A well-renowned DJ, been in it for a minute. Just so many credits and so many things that I've recently discovered. I'm curious to ask him about. Currently, he has the Rap Is Outta Control show, and the DJ for Nonfiction, and La Coca Nostra, if I'm correct, right? Yes. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, DJ Eclipse.
Yeah. What is up, everybody?
How are you, sir?
I'm great. How you doing?
Good, man.
Nice to meet you, via video.
Yes, exactly. I had only contacted you before briefly through email and Instagram.
Correct.
Yeah. Good to talk to you.
Yes, absolutely. Nice squad up here.
Yeah. We have fun. We enjoy it.
We try.
Yeah, we try. Exactly. Man. What's going on with you lately? What's the latest and greatest?
Man, it's everything is going on. There's so much, as you mentioned, DJing for Nonfiction, and we just recently celebrated our 21st anniversary of the Future Is Now album last month, and so to kind of celebrate that, as much as the releases we just put out, which we started back last year, like getting these reissues out. So we kind of started with this 20th anniversary theme, but unfortunately they didn't come out until this year. But we've been, celebrating the 20th anniversary. So now it's officially the 21st, but we did, several shows this past weekend. We did New York, we did New Hampshire, and we did Massachusetts. Then next week we go to LA. And then as soon as I come back from that trip, I got to hit Europe with Bahamadia for a couple of weeks. Ultra Mag has to get those videos done by then. And so that's like the what's going on within the next several weeks. But other than that, it's like same thing. Once a week radio show, Rap Is Outta Control, every Sunday on Shade 45. My man DJ Riz, shout out to Kyle. And Fat Beats, I've been on and off working with Fat Beats since like 95. So I'm still heavily involved with them. So that's kind of like a day-to-day thing as well. And then I have a management company, Pay to Win, which manages groups such as Nonfiction, La Coca Nostra, Bahamadia, Rashid Chappelle, Q Unique, The Legion, MC Search. I believe that's everyone. So yeah, my hands are like, in a lot of different things and just, always trying to keep the foundation strong of this culture we call hip hop.
Yeah.
You stay busy.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think there's a lot of stuff that people don't see behind the scenes.
Oh, there's 1,000% things they don't see. They don't see the bags under my eyes from not getting enough sleep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's how this goes, though.
It is.
You never get enough sleep.
You're coming out to LA with who?
Nonfiction. We're playing at the Garden Amp in Garden Grove, Cali.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I should go.
You should. It's actually going to be us and the Alcoholics.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you gotta go, Jenny.
Yeah.
So if you don't like us, come for the Alcoholics.
Yeah.
All
right.
Yeah, because King T might be there, Jen. There you go.
You never know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, never know.
Right. I'm gonna have to make a little phone call to Mr. King T.
You may have to give him
Wow.
Man.
There you go.
Give him a call.
Yeah.
And also shout out to Leeds.
Shout out to Leeds.
Yeah. Shout out to Leeds because I think he posted some footage of you guys performing.
He actually was our connect for the Greenfield and Manchester shows, being that he's the promoter of New England.
Yes. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Super dope.
Mm-hmm.
I will be honest and upfront. I never got The Future Is Now when it came out, but
okay.
I'm impressed. I was really impressed by the reissue. You guys really did it up with the the new packaging and everything, and
correct.
The expanded artwork.
Yeah, we funny story with that is that the original Nonfiction album, Mayor One from LA did the cover art, and Ill Bill approached him to do it probably about a year before the album was ready to come out. And as it got closer to the album getting ready to be released, we were like, okay, where's the artwork? And Mayor's like, well, it's not done. And Bill's like, well, let me see what it looks like. And what we put out is the unfinished version of what he did. And so we were like, it's good enough. We love it. We're going with it. And so we put it out, and I don't think any of us really thought that he was going to keep on working on it after we put it out.
Right.
And then like years later, we found out that he actually had an updated version of it, and a mutual friend of ours approached Mir and actually bought the canvas from him, the real canvas, and gifted it to Ill Bill. So Ill Bill now has it hanging in his room. And while we've over the years, we've done a bunch of reissues of The Future Is Now. We've done like a CD box set, we've done an LP box set,
right? Different
color vinyl. So we were like, what can we do for the 20th anniversary that we haven't already done without like having it be overkill? And so I was like, yo, let's put out the never seen before artwork, the final version of it. We'll just do it for this one time, this one pressing, and celebrate that, and have that on there. And then we haven't put out the instrumental vinyl in like 20 years. So I was like, you know what? I was like, let's do this. Let's put out the instrumental vinyl, and let's do an acapella vinyl, because I had almost all the acapellas, on that, whatever. And no one really puts out acapella albums for sale. We've gotten ones as promos back in the day, Nas or Jay-Z or whatever, but never really seen anyone put one out for sale. So I was like, let's do an instrumental album and an acapella album, and split the cover in half. So you have to get both copies to put them together, and you see the full final
That's
artwork.
dope.
Yeah. So we just had fun with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was great. Like, you know, they've been moving and people seem to love them. So, you know,
yeah, that's fantastic, man. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, sure.
Really creative shit like that. Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's go. Let's go back. Can you talk about your earliest musical memory? Like what got, you know, what attracted you to music in the first place?
Well, music in the household, you know what I'm saying? My mom always playing. She had a nice vinyl collection. She was always playing Motown stuff, a lot of doo-wop, Marvin Gaye. She had a nice James Brown collection. She was into Bob Marley, you know, so it's like those songs would constantly be being played in the house. So music was always around. And then I think that me as a kid, you know, probably like preteens, I was just into really like top 40 radio, like just, you know, Casey Kasem, you know what I'm saying? Like you put it on the radio and whatever, you know, Hall & Oates and Billy Joel and like, you know, all that kind of stuff. And so it was, you know, but I always noticed that like the stuff I liked was stuff that had, you know, either like funky rhythms or like harmonies or something like that. It was always stuff that there was something about it that like, you know, those were the ones. And but you know, it wasn't anything more than just listening to the radio and stuff like that. But then, I mean, you know, I was in the 5th grade. I was at a class party in school, and this kid, Brian Rose, brought in a copy of Rap Is Delight and put it on the turntable, on the little school turntable. And when I heard that for the first time, I was just like, yo, what is this? I was like, this is totally different than everything else. There you go. I see you, Ultra Mag.
Yeah.
And so that really set me on the collecting vinyl path. You know what I'm saying? It was like, you know, that and I just jumped head in, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, just went down to Strawberries Records in Providence, Rhode Island. And I searched for the song and I picked up a copy of it. And then that's when I became a nerd. You know what I'm saying? It's like I look at the label, I read the credits, you know, all that stuff. And so I started going back and looking for, you know, other releases on the same label on Sugar Hill. And then I started seeing that they were dropping other things like within the next year or so, and, you know, picked up some of their compilations that they did. And it's just like, then I really started to see it around school. Like by the time I got to, that was 5th grade, but by the time I got to like over the next several years, 81, 82, you know, Planet Rock comes out, you know, you have like The Message, stuff like that. It was like, and The Message was actually, well, Rap Is Delight was getting played on commercial radio, but then the next song I remember getting played was The Message on commercial radio. And then that also led me down the rabbit hole of like finding college radio and community radio, you know, going down the dial and looking for those stations that are in the 80s and the 90s. And so bought a box, you know what I'm saying, bought blank tapes and found those stations and would just start recording the shows and, you know, trying to locate the music and all that stuff. And that was just my earliest experiences of hearing hip hop and then, you know, seeing it in school, seeing it around, and then just really just like being magnetized by it. And just, you know, after several years of like just buying records, being like, this is what I want to do. Like, I'm going to be a DJ. I mean, and of course, like, I think most of us that are like 50 or so, you know, it's, you start out kind of doing everything, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like, you don't really have one thing. It's like, I love DJ. I love watching DJs, you know, I love watching MCs, breakers, you know, graph writers. So I tried my hand at all of them. You know, I'd write rhymes, never really rap. I'd write rhymes. I tried, actually my name Eclipse, I took because I was trying to find something to write. You know, like a name that a name that I could write a big piece on a wall or something like that. Yeah. And I was trying to think of names that I could creatively make look, you know, cool. And so Eclipse, I was like, oh, I can make it like two-tone or shaded or whatever, like stuff like that. And so that's how I ended up picking my name before I was even a DJ. And then everything else just kind of, I was breaking, you know, everything. But then DJing was the thing. I was like, that's the one I'm going to focus on. And I just studied all the DJs that were around my way. The main one being DJ Buck you know what I'm saying, who's in Connecticut now, but he's from Providence, Rhode Island. And, you know, I just grew up really like studying him, watching him play at like USA Skating Rink in Providence, listening to him on the radio. And then his crew was called the Magical Four. And Al Shell, who was kind of like the main lead rapper of the crew, also DJ'd. And I got real close to them. And so I was able to like go over their house and I would just, you know, watch Al cut up for a while and stuff like that. So I was just like the quiet guy in the back, studying, asking some questions and stuff like that. And that was really my whole intro to everything.
That's dope.
Yeah. Really
That's
cool.
dope.
Yeah.
So when did you start actually going out and DJing?
Oh, it was in 1985. But I started buying equipment the end of 84, beginning of 85, but like house equipment, you know, like I bought like a tape deck and a receiver at once, bought a pair of speakers another time, mixer I think came next, and then two Techniques 200 turntables, and so once I had my setup in my house, you know, I practiced for a while, and then one of my best friends in Rhode Island, David Macaruso, he had like some kind of graduation party or something like that in his backyard. And it was like a weekend day. It was I think it was in September or something like that. And, or maybe it was August. Maybe it was the summer then. It was graduation. So it was probably like August. And it was like an all day event. It was like 11 a.m. I feel like I was there till like 11 at night. You know, I mean, I was probably exaggerating.
Right.
I played every cut on every record I had that day. The album cuts, I played every single song. I mean, I probably had like 2 crates of records by that time, you know, so by 85. And so I just played everything I had in my arsenal and just went through everything. So I did that party, and then I did another one for his brother, some kind of party he had. And those are the only 2 parties I ever did while I was living in Rhode Island. And then October of 85, I left. I moved down to Columbia, South Carolina. And that's honestly really where I made a name for myself and where I really started DJing out a lot. Yeah.
Wow. Columbia, South Carolina.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a big difference from coming from up north. I'll tell you that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did some time in Myrtle Beach, so
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, it's culture shock. It's
yeah,
like,
absolutely. It was culture shock for all of us. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, my first week in school down there, I'm wearing like Puma sweatsuits and like, you know, I got my name belt buckle hanging down my side of my leg and all that stuff, and everyone's looking at me like, "Yo, you're not from here." And I was just like, nah. So it worked to my benefit, though. I mean, I still like a sore thumb, you know.
Yeah. So I heard that. Okay, I didn't know how you got to South Carolina, but I heard on another interview that you worked at Sounds Familiar Records.
Correct.
Wow.
You know about Sounds Familiar?
Yeah, because I used to go to the one in Myrtle Beach.
Okay.
Yeah. I shop there all the time. That was really the only decent spot in Myrtle Beach, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the same thing in Columbia. Sounds Familiar was the spot. Manifest ended up coming along and gave us some competition. They had some cool stuff. But Sounds Familiar, Sounds Familiar was like the main thing. And I actually worked at the Park Lane location, which was the most urban of all of the locations. And you know, we had a blast there. You know, it was I was there from, I mean, I started working there in 88, and I guess I worked there until 91 or 92 when I left to come back up north.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so that experience then came into play because it gave you a lot of, it helped you with when you got into the wild pitch situation that we'll get to in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah, absolutely.
Retail and so on and so forth.
Correct. Yeah. So, that the retail experience took me to wild pitch. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you left to come back up north because you met MC Search.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. There's a story in between that where I'm sure you're probably familiar with the producer T-Ray.
Yes.
Yeah. So Todd is from down south. He's from South Carolina. He's from a little country town called Kershaw. And I never knew him, you know, or anything. I was familiar with his group, the White Boys. They were on Tin Pan Apple, you know, and they had an an album come out, and I think the best cut on there that I remember was like a Molly Mall produced track. Like that was like the one I would play off the whole album. Everything else was a little too, drum machine sounding for a time when things were kind of like starting to sound a little different. So one day I sound familiar. I'm working, and this guy comes in and he's like, my name is Mike. I want to I got a friend that wants to meet you. And I was like, okay, he's like, his name's Todd Ray. He's like, he's in a group called the White Boys. I was like, oh yeah, I know the White Boys. I'm familiar with them. And so he basically set up for us to have a meeting. And I forget the first meeting. I can't remember if Mike brought Todd to the store, or I think the first thing might have been just I think Todd came and picked me up from the store. He was back living in Kershaw at this time, which is about, I think, 45 minutes away from Columbia. And he came and picked me up one day from the store, and we drove to Kershaw. We went to his place, and I have a pretty decent record collection, which is 95% hip hop. At that time, in like, whatever time, it was 1990, I think is when I met Todd. Okay. He had as many records as I had hip hop in breaks. Like he had his break collection was ridiculous. And so I was already like, working on beats myself, or my man Mighty Maestro. And so he started letting me hear stuff, and he had a nice setup. At that particular time, I had a Korg DDD1 drum machine that had like 1 second of sample time. And so what I'd used to do is put every record on 45 plus 8, sample it in, and then slow it down in the 4-track when I needed to, like, and then just layer it by hand, no sequencer or anything like that. So that's how I was making all my demos. Todd had like the Casio FC1 sampling keyboard. He had the Alesis sequencer. So he had like a real setup, So I automatically gravitated to Todd and to his spot. And so we just started going to his spot. He would just come pick me up every so often. We go to his spot, and we would just go through all his records. I'd bring records, and we would just make beats all the time, just make beats. And he was like, yo, I have to get back up to New York. He's like, I have to get back up there. He's like, he was really frustrated with where the White Boys went. And so we were making beats, and we were making beats really for him to rhyme on. So we came up with a 3-song demo, and we laid it down, all that stuff. And then he packed his bags and went up to New York, and he's like, I'm going to stay up there. I'm going to take meetings with labels. And he did. He went up there, he sat down with all these labels and shopped his demo. And the only label that was interested was Big Beat Records, but they were not interested in him as an MC. They were interested in the production. And so he ended up getting a production deal at Big Beat. And that's how he ended up getting on the Artifacts first album. There you go. And he also did a couple of things. He did the Kenny Dope Super remix. So he did a bunch of stuff for Big Beat. And then
did he do Double X Posse?
He did. Ain't gonna be able to do it. Yeah,
not gonna be able to do it.
Not gonna be able to do it. He did that. So yeah, he did a lot of work initially for Big Beat, and they were all bangers. So that really started getting his name out there. And then other dope producers started getting wind of him, and so people started going to him for tracks. And so that's when you hear stuff like, like Lord Finesse. I'm saying, like the Yes You May remix. Instead of Finesse doing it, he had T-Ray do it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so T-Ray started getting some work on a lot of other stuff. And then I remember Todd sent me, he would send me all the stuff early. He'd send me tapes and be like, yo, like this is all stuff I'm working on. And he sent me like the Yes You May remix and like, stuff he was doing for Percy P. And then he's like, yo, I hooked up with Search, and I'm doing like half his album. So he'd send me all the demos, rough versions, all this stuff. And so what happened from that point was Search was doing his solo album. They just released a single for Here It Comes. And so he was on a promo tour. He came down to Columbia, South Carolina. He came through Sounds Familiar. I knew he was coming through. The label let us know that he was coming through. So as soon as he walks in the door, he's walking around the store. So I pull out his record Melissa from like '85. I put it on. Right, I haven't even said what's up to him at all at this point. I put the record on, and I just watch him walking down one of the aisles, and then start laughing hysterically and fall to the floor, as right. And so that was it. We just hit it off right from that point. You know what I'm saying? So, and so. He came over, we started talking, and I was just like, my man Todd, T-Ray. He's like, he's like, yeah, he's producing my, I was like, I know he's producing it. I was like, I have half your album, which wasn't out at this point. So we just started talking. I told him that me and Todd were producing stuff, blah, blah. So he wanted to hear what I was producing. So then we went out to the car for probably like a half hour, and I just played him, like beats. And he was just like, he's like, these are dope. He's like, I want you to come to New York and be my producer and DJ. He's like, I have another DJ, this kid named Riz, who I'm putting down with me. He's like, but I want 2 DJs, so, I want, it would be you and Riz, and then you do all the production. So I'm like, all right, bet, so he left, and then we exchanged contacts, and then he called me back like at the store like an hour later, and was like, he's like, why don't you just come up to the show tonight in Charlotte? He's like, we'll talk more about it. So that's what I did. I went up that night to Charlotte. We built on it more, and that was kind of the game plan, And so I basically, initially when I went to New York, I was staying with Search, and Long Island. So he had an attic. We bought equipment. Equipment was in the attic, and plus I think I brought up some of my stuff, and just set it up in the attic. And so I would just make beats, all day. And so I ended up producing what was supposed to be his follow-up solo album after Return of the Product, which ended up not coming out at that time because him and Def Jam ended up falling, out. So, but yeah, so that
was that the Many Young Lives ago?
It wasn't that as in its entirety. Right. But a lot of that was from that project. Yes. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gotcha. And those were like all rough demos too. They were never like, we never finally mixed them. So, and we've actually been talking about recently putting it back out and like putting it out as it kind of was supposed to be with the other tracks that weren't on there,
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he met Search and all the problems began. No, I love Search.
Oh man, Search is a character. I love him too. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm very close to the whole family. His oldest daughter is my goddaughter. So yeah, I mean, I owe a lot to him. You know what I'm saying, for getting me into the door. It's like being a DJ for him. I mean, I met Riz, through him. Me and Riz are like best friends, and me and Riz has been on radio since 98. We started radio together, and we're still doing it together. So, yeah, a lot of good relationships. I was forged. Nonfiction was because of Search. Saying like he brought a lot of people together. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
So so I got to ask about the Brooklyn Slumlords.
Mm-hmm. Brooklyn Slumlords was originally Riz and Scribble. I forget if there was anyone else. It was Riz and Scribble mainly. Shout out to DJ AV, who was kind of in the cut. But it was Riz and Scribble. I think maybe it was Cameron from YBT, may have been, or Firstborn. One of the YBT dudes, young black teenagers.
Yeah, maybe Firstborn.
Yeah, I think maybe it was him that was involved too a little bit. But they put out like the first one, and then I think the second one, it was me, Scribble, and Riz. And we just worked on stuff. We did one of the I forget how many tracks were on there, 3 or 4. Like one of them I did by myself, but then Riz was like, he's like, I gotta add something to it. So he's like, put this drum break behind it. So like I took some drum break and threw it in the background of that one, and then I think everything else we kind of collectively worked on, in my room, my little studio room in my apartment. And we put it together there. And then after that one came out, then Riz started working with Scissorhands, and they were forming the Crooklyn Clan. And so Riz was kind of out of the picture for a minute. And so me and Scribble did something. And what do we call it? It wasn't Brooklyn Slumlords. It was Suburban Vinyl Outlaws, I think is what we called it. And so that was just me and Scribble. And then I think that was it up until AV8 came into the picture. And then Crooklyn Clan started doing the stuff on AV8. And then through that relationship, I put out my break record on AV8 as well.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's a dope record. And, you know, that one of those records that I don't know if a lot of people know about it.
Sure.
You know, I stumbled upon it. I was like, wow, this is dope, you know?
Yeah. I mean, we thought it was, you know?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I got to ask about the other one that I got to ask about, because we're going to get into the Wild Pitch situation.
Okay.
This weird thing there, is the Zigzag album.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Zigzag.
Because I guess it was supposed to be on Priority.
Yes. So Zigzag was an artist that I was working with back in Columbia, South Carolina. He was one of the guys. I was working with a lot of MCs back down there, but he was definitely the most promising. And we were working on a bunch of demos. This was also around the time I was working with T-Ray. I actually recorded some of Zigzag's demos at T-Ray's place. Okay. And so we recorded some demos, but then around the same time, my best friend down there, another DJ producer, the Mighty Maestro, who has a whole other chapter of his own career where he was signed to Tough City and producing for like Lakem Shabazz and doing a lot of stuff for Tough City for like projects that either the 45 King was too busy to do or couldn't get around to finishing. So Maestro started putting in a lot of work there. So anyway, so Maestro came into the picture, and then Maestro started working with Zigzag a little bit more than I was. And I think also I had I was still around at the time. Yeah. So me and Maestro were both working with Zigzag, and we were kind of like, okay, we're gonna produce an album for him and shop it. You know, that was kind of the plan. And so I had maybe 3 or 4 songs, demos that were going towards it, and then Maestro started working on a bunch of stuff. And so basically, we started working on this project, and then while we were working on the project, is around the time I met Search. So then I kind of left. I stepped off, and Maestro was basically there to finish up the project. And he redid some of the songs I had did. He added on to some of them, stuff like that. But he was the one that basically really put 100% into it, and I probably put like 35 or 40% into it. And so Maestro and the guy that was kind of bankrolling the operation, this guy Mike Allen, they were shopping the deal, and there was a few people that were interested. And it's actually funny because Select Records was interested in signing, and one of the songs that I had produced, the song called "Don't Front the Flavor," was a Blackbird sample. And I think Paris had just released a record with the same sample.
Yeah.
And so So Select was like, we don't want to use it now. You know what I'm saying? Because back then you couldn't use the same sample.
And then Pete Nice sampled it too.
Yeah. Well, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. For Curious.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. For Curious.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
No, you're
right. That Pete Nice produced. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So that fell through, but then Priority ended up wanting it, and it sat on the shelf, you know, forever. I mean, I think they did press up Priority cassettes, you know, like promo cassettes, but it just never went anywhere, you know. And then by that time, I was, let's see, where was I at when that? I was still just doing stuff with Search, I think, at that point when all that was going on. But yeah, but you know, I was hands off really at that point. Okay. It was really like it was all Maestro and Mike were totally running the show at that point, and that was the last of it. Really was like it being shelved at Priority, you know.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, it's there's a lot of dope stuff on there, but what's interesting is that there's a song that has the same sample as Time's Up.
It's Time's Up. And it's funny because me and Maestro have fake beef over that. and because that wasn't one of the songs that was done when I was there.
Oh, okay.
So it came afterwards, and Maestro swears I heard it. I'd never heard it. So, you know, when Time's Up came out, And Maestro's like, yo, like they bit our shit, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, you know, and like I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you don't remember that song? I was like, no, I don't remember that song. You know, so you know, so it's like we always kind of like laugh about that because I do not remember that Zigzag song from back then, but he swears he had sent it to me. And then obviously I had nothing to do with the original beat for Time's Up. I mean, that was, you know, and it's funny because there's a story with OC in that beat because originally Pharoah Monch had given OC that same beat. Monch produced it. And Monch, OC, yeah. Monch produced, Monch just gave O a bunch of beats, and whatever year it was, O just couldn't wrap his head around that beat. You know what I'm saying? He couldn't write to it. He's like, it's just too crazy, whatever, and he left it alone. But then by the time he was working on the album and Buck Wild submitted the beat, I guess it, you know, it just clicked more at that particular point in time, and that's when he wrote Time's Up. And then what happened with that was, and this also goes back to Maestro, another artist that me and Maestro were working with is my man Finesse. No relation to any Finesses you would know, but his name was Finesse, and I've known him since like, you know, since I moved to South Carolina from '85. So but Finesse was working, and he was dope. He was from New York, but he was in the Army, stationed down south, and he knew his breaks. He was just dope, and he actually helped us a lot with like naming breaks and stuff like that. So we did demos with him. I produced a demo for him called Lounge and Maintain, and we had sampled the Brand Nubian piece for the chorus. And when I heard Time's Up, I was like, let me take the acapella for that. And, you know, I took the instrumental for the demo I made for Finesse and I put it underneath it. And I was like, I kind of like this. And so I played it for O, and he was like, yo, that's dope. And so he's like, yo, let's make it the remix. So I was like, all right. So then I hit up Finesse and Maestro, and I was like, I got this opportunity to use this on an OC remix. And they're like, all right, you know, cool, do what you gotta do. You know, it was just a demo at that point for Finesse and them. Right. And so that's how I ended up doing that remix. You know, it was just because everyone liked it, and you know, we put it on the 12-inch.
Oh, it's a great remix too. Yeah.
I mean, you know what? I do like the remix. It's probably the worst song to do a remix for, because it doesn't need a remix, and like, you know, do it for something that warrants a remix, you know what I'm saying? Right. But it's funny because of all the places I've ever traveled to, shout out to my man Mad Soul in Boston, that remix gravitated in his shop. Like he was playing it all the time, and that's, you know, it played. That was like the one spot I always heard the remix, like when I was over in that area. But yeah, I mean, the original is just such a classic. I mean, in the way he kicked it,
iconic.
Yeah, and it's also, I mean, the remix was a little challenging, you know, because of the way the original is so offbeat, kind of. It's not like syncopated, and so, you know, sometimes Oak sounds like it might be a little off because he's rhyming to the original track. You know what I'm saying? So it was a little challenging to get everything into pocket. But yeah, I think it's dope. And then it's funny too, because then I think Buck Wild ended up using the same sample for Gemini the Gifted One track.
Oh yeah.
And I was just like, what? Matter of fact, I never asked Buck about that. I gotta ask him about that.
A lot of beats going back and forth.
Yeah.
Speaking of wild pitch remixes,
yes,
and maybe you can also shed some light on this, because I've kind of been become very intrigued. We're trying to get her on the show too. I'd like to get her on the show, but you did a remix for Entice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yes. and which is, it's another dope remix. I'm trying to figure out why her album never happened.
Oh man.
Do you know anything about that?
It's been so long, I don't even remember. Maybe as I'm talking about it, it'll come back to my mind. But I think it was just, I don't know if there was ever an album on the table, to be honest. I think it was, you know, it was singles. You know, keep in mind too, like, you know, Wild Pitch, you know, a lot of those labels, they're all single driven, you know, and it's all kind of like, we'll keep putting out singles, and then once something kind of clicks, you know, we'll go with the album. And when I came on board, was when Hush Hush Tip was like just being released, and that record did really well, you know, with the whole Woo connection kind of thing. And then there was then when we followed it up with the Sure You're Right, again, I was just like at that point I was just looking to try to remix anything that Wild Pitch was putting out, you know what I'm saying? And that one more so, I liked the original version, but the original version was very commercial, you know what I'm saying? It was like, you know, so I was like, all right, well, let me try to do my version of that. And so that's why I kind of came up with what I did. And so I thought that mine was a more harder, you know, college radio friendly kind of a record, you know what I'm saying? So but yeah, I think it was just probably just more just single bass, kind of waiting to see, like, you know, if there was really a demand for the whole thing. You know, but things ended up turning bad at Wild Pitch, you know, fairly quickly. You know, I mean, I was there for a year and a half. And there was a lot of great moves made, but then a lot of bad things that happened, you know, and the Search getting a job up there, and then establish a connection for me to get my gig up there with Stu. And, you know, I took the retail promotion job, and we brought a lot of new blood in. I mean, you know, OC came through Searchlight Music, you know, Jesse West was signed to like a demo deal. And Tone All Natural, who at the time was going by the name Tone B Nim what the hell, T&D, Tony and Dave. All
from
Natural,
Chicago?
out of Chicago. Yep.
Yeah, wow.
West. Yeah. So that was my Tone B Nimble, was my man from like the 80s. And so when they were doing demos, he sent me demos, and so we liked the demos, and so we signed them to a demo deal. Search received a VHS tape of these kids rhyming in their studio, which was Foul Play, who are out of Tacoma, Washington.
Wow.
They ended up actually, I think, putting out a song on. It was on a soundtrack, and it was a soundtrack with a interstate name to it. I forget what the name of the movie was or something like that. But they did a soundtrack to that, and I mean, they did a song on that soundtrack. And there was a couple other people, C-Style from Total Pack, who are like NYC, you know, underground legends. You know what I'm saying? They were on Stretch and Bobbito all the time back in the day. C-Style was signed to a demo deal. And so these people were all getting their music together. So we had this whole new generation crop of people getting ready to come up. OC was like, the album was already confirmed. That was being made. And the UMCs were, I think their album, their second album had already come out by the time we had got up there. And there was a whole fallout from that because there was beef between UMCs and Wild Pitch, and they ended up getting off the label.
Right.
So they had lost them. Gangstar was already gone from the label by that point. Right. Lord Finesse was off the label by that point. Chill Rob G was dormant, and I actually asked Stu. I was like, "Yo, what's up with Rob?" He's like, Rob's good. He's like, Rob sends me demos like every once in a while. He's like, but if you want to like follow up with him, I was like, hell yeah. So I started going into the studio with Rob. I hooked him back up with like 45 King and Louis Vega, Fat Cat Vega, and working on demos with him.
Was Ultramagnetic still there? Or?
Ultramagnetic was, they actually were still there. Yes, they were, because I was taking them around to some places. I took them down to BET to do that. Yeah. So yes, they were still there at that point. And Main Source, who was the new Main Source with Mikey D as the MC, right? So really, like, Main Source was kind of like the last big thing that Wild Pitch had. You know what I'm saying? And the Coup. Shout out to the Coup.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Coup. Yeah,
absolutely, the Coup. My bad. Sorry, Boots. Yes, and the Coup was there too, and that was a great album, that Genocide Juice they put out. Yeah, and so but it was like two different coasts. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was, the Coup was big out west. Main Source was more East Coast, all stuff. So what happened was, at some point while all this stuff was going on, Main Source was unhappy about what Wild Pitch was doing with the record, and so they basically wanted it off the label. And after a long sit down, Stu gave them their release, and you know, then he took all of us into the office and was like, yo, you know, I'm just letting you guys know, Main Source is no longer on the label. I remember the first words out of my mouth was like, well, how does that affect us with EMI? And Stu goes, wow, I didn't think about that. And I was like, okay. And sure enough, that was the nail in the coffin. You know, at that point, EMI was just like, you don't have anything of sales history for us anymore. Like, you know, so they were like, all right, they dropped, you know, Wild Pitch, you know, as a label. Wow. And so that was it. And so all the new talent that we had, you know, coming out was kind of like just left to, you know, they walked away with their demos, you know, which was still of legend. I mean, there's some foul play demos that's out there floating around. You know, like there's boot camps on one or two of them. I mean, they're all pretty dope. There's a handful of demos that are just really dope. That are like, you know, from that era. C-Style had a whole bunch of dope demos that you know, I think maybe Chopped Herring Records may have pressed up some of these because that's what they do. They find like the hard to find stuff. So, but yeah, some dope stuff from that era.
Yeah, I think Chopped Herring put up the Zigzag.
Yeah. Actually, I think I can't remember if I connected Maestro with them but Maestro definitely hit me up about them, and I was like, yeah. I was like, you know, they know what they're doing with that stuff. So
yeah. Shout out to Chopped Herring. I love those reissue labels, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Doing the Lord's work.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they go after some really obscure stuff.
Really obscure. I mean, God bless them. You know what I'm saying? Yep. I mean, that's where I label myself a collector, but then I do have a cutoff point. It's like, I don't have to have every single demo that was ever made in the world. You know what I'm saying? It's like, some stuff is like, can just be left for demos. It's like, you know, but God bless them. Everyone else that does that, you know, it's like.
Right. They went at that Chopped Herring. That's the one that put out the secret tapes. For Front. Yeah.
Yeah. They re-released it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. So, around this time, nonfiction.
Yeah, that came together at Wild Pitch. You know, that was like towards the end of the Wild Pitch days. At that point, me and Search were working at Wild Pitch, and we had met Sabak, who was the hype man for an opening act on one of our shows in Brooklyn, MC Search show. And Search was like, yo, I like that. He's like, the main artist is cool, but I really like the hype man. Like, he's the one. Like, he's real energetic. So he just hit up Sabak, and Sabak started coming through to the studio sessions, hanging out, and he just, you know, became part of our posse while we were still doing like Search stuff. And so when we got him a gig up at Wild Pitch doing college radio promotion. And so then one day Sabak was out walking around Broadway and NYC, and was going into all the clothing shops around Broadway. So he was going in and passing out like OC stickers or OC promo tapes, whatever, just giving them to stores. And he walked into one store, and Ill Bill was the buyer at the store. And so he went up to Bill and was like, yo, I just want to put you up on this guy OC. And Bill's like, I know who OC is. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they start talking, and, you know, come to find out Bill's an MC. And so, like, him and Sabak probably had like some impromptu little cypher session. And Sabak's like, yo, he's like, you know, I want to bring you back to Wild Pitch, let you meet, like, you know, Search, whatever. And so that's basically what happened. Is he set up a meeting, you know, for Bill to come up to Wild Pitch and meet Search. And they hit it off, and Search liked Bill a lot. And so we just started talking about forming a new crew. And I believe it was Bill that, you know, suggested the name Nonfiction. And that was it. The original members were me, Search, Sabak, and Ill Bill. It was just us four. Wow. And then we started working on some demos. And then a couple demos in, Bill was like, yo, I have a really good friend of mine, childhood friend, that's dope. He's like, I think he'd be dope in the group. And that was Gore-Tex. And so Bill brought Gore-Tex into the fold, you know, shortly after we started working on a few of the demos. And that was how the crew kind of was formed. Yeah, right there in Wild Pitch.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So was there any at any time before Wild Pitch dissolved, were you guys thinking of that was going to be the label, the place?
Not even, honestly. It wasn't even. Neither here nor there. Like, it wasn't even where are we putting this out. It's more of a matter of like, let's record and see what we have. You know what I'm saying? So it was more of like just recording songs, and then as time went on and Wild Pitch was out of the equation, I ended up, and I'm probably going to lead into something you're going to talk about, which is Fat Beats. I ended up getting a job there because while I was working at Wild Pitch, part of my job was going to check all the stores in New York City and make sure they have stock on all of our stuff. And so when Joe from Fat Beats sent out a fax, saying grand opening, July 14th, come on down to Fat Beats, and the flyer had like, it was all graffiti and everything like that. So I was like, all right, well, there's no other store in New York that's like sending out flyers like this. Let me go check it out. So I think I took Search with me. And we went down there for the grand opening, and like, you walk in and like Joe's breaking on the floor. There's a DJ spinning in the corner. They're still putting like the spray paint still fresh on the walls. Half the records are up on the wall. The other half are still on the floor because the walls are wet. And I was like, yeah, this place is official. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was, for as dope and authentic as New York City is, there really wasn't a hip hop shop prior to Fat Beats. There was great iconic stores that had hip hop sections, you know what I'm saying? But like, there was not a straight up hip hop store. And so I just always supported Fat Beats from day one. I was like, okay, like, this guy is legit. And so, I think I gave him his first in-store with OC. I would always support the store. I'd buy whatever music I wanted from the store that I wasn't getting already for free. So once Wild Pitch closed, Joe, it's probably been a year at that point that Fat Beats had been open. And so Joe was just like, yo, we're really busy now. He's like, would you be interested in like helping out, on the weekends? And I was like, okay. I was like, I'll do that until I get my next label gig, because that was my plan. And I'll take this little summer off and then go get a label gig.
Right.
And I never left Fat Beats. It was like that from the summer of 95 until like the summer of 96. I mean, we exploded. It was just like Stretch and Bob was shouting us out every single week. We started carrying and selling their tapes, duplicating them for them. Oh, wow. Yeah, like Bob would come in the store and drop off a copy of like last night's show, and then we had the telex machine. We'd start duping them, stamping them, selling them. So everyone started coming to the store to get them, and then we started like we hit the Rocksteady anniversaries really hard every summer, and especially Joe before I even got there, hitting off stickers, saying like with the address and all that stuff. So he did a lot of grassroots stuff, and so business boomed. By the time between the summer and fall of 96, we opened up an LA store, we opened up an Amsterdam store, and we moved to a bigger NYC store, and we opened up Fat Beats distribution, all within like 3 to 4 months of of everything. So business was just really good. And from 96 to probably like 98, 99 was just like, to me, for the indie scene movement, that was probably the pinnacle, when like everything in between those years was just like fire. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Raucus was doing their thing. We were distributing Raucus. There was all these labels started popping up. You had ABB on the West Coast. It's like everyone was trying to act like a real label and sign acts and put out acts and promote acts, and we ended up being the distributor, for most of these labels and this music.
Speaking of Bob Beto,
mm-hmm.
I'm a huge fan of Fondle 'Em.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, man. They just put out some amazing.
That was a great time.
records.
Yeah.
Remember, we were talking to Copyright a couple weeks ago, and we were saying there needs to be a documentary done about that time. Like that was
absolutely
an amazing time, and I wish somebody would somehow get put a documentary out about that.
Well, there is a Fat Beats documentary that's been in the works for at least 13 years, and it's next year is the 30th anniversary of Fat Beats, and I have high hopes that it will be ready for next year.
Awesome.
It's in the we're in the editing process, you know. So at least there'll be it's Fat Beats oriented, but it'll cover a lot of the scene.
Yeah,
Because a lot of
yeah,
the scene, the Fat Beats was the hub for a lot of that. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's dope.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're working at Fat Beats. You got Nonfiction is putting out singles at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And then when did Search kind of back out of the group?
So let me see. So 96 was 96 the first single. 95 we formed the group. So 96 was when we put out No Tomorrow Legacy.
Yeah.
And then then the next one was 5 Boroughs and 4 W's. Those are the only 2 singles. Well, then we did I don't really count the 5 Boroughs remix as like an official single. It was kind of like a promo thing we did originally. It was a promo remix that DR Period did. And then we put like a Hot 97 freestyle like on the B side, and Search is on those. But as far as official releases, it was just those really 2 that Search was on. And then while those were being released independently, Search was shopping us around for a deal, and he got us signed to Geffen Records. Wendy Goldstein signed us, and so we were official. We got our album deal. We got a budget. Search was in charge of the budget, and we bought equipment, recording studio, Area 51. We bought out of that budget, and we put that in Canarsie, Brooklyn, and that is where we recorded everything from that point on. We basically recorded in Area 51, and then we would just go and mix at like Chung King or Green Streets or stuff like that. And so while we were working on the album, it became difficult for Search to juggle everything he was working on. Keep in mind also, by when Search was on his 3rd kid by this time. You know what I'm saying? So and all the kids are like a year or 2 apart. So they're all like babies basically. So I think it was, and he's older than all of us. So and I'm the second oldest, and the other guys are like years beneath me. So it was harder for him to be in the streets, the way these guys were, like going to clubs, going to events, hanging out, going to the studio. He couldn't do that as much. He was a family man, other responsibilities, stuff like that. So I think there was like tension building of resentment of like, why aren't you here? Why aren't you here? Why aren't you here? And so it just got to the point where it's like, dude, like, like it's not working out. Like, either you're in the group or you're not in the group. It's like we're going to make appearances at places, and like he just couldn't be there and stuff like that. So it got to the point where it was just like, he did a lot for the group, but it was time for the group to kind of move on so they could get something done of what they wanted to do. And so that was where it left, and it left bad, what I'm saying, because it wasn't a happy split, what I'm saying. It was like, everyone was upset, they were upset. Search was upset, he was kind of like in a forced out situation, and I was in the middle because I'm still cool with Search, and and I'm with Nonfiction, and so it was uncomfortable for a while, but as years went on, it was all like, water under the bridge, and everyone's fine, cool now, and all that stuff. But yeah, so it took that happened, and then what happened with Geffen was Geffen ended up getting bought out by MCA,
right?
And so MCA cherry picked who they were taking to from Geffen. So it took Jizza, The Roots, and I think that was really it. So like us, Large Professor, and like Killer Priest, were all like left behind. So we just had we were homeless again. So now we're back to square one. We're like, okay, what are we gonna do? So then, meanwhile, our friends, the Arsonists, had just signed a deal with this label, Matador Records, and we were like, what's up with Matador? And we were like, how's things over there? And they were like, yo, things are cool. And they were like, yo, they're big fans of you guys. So like, oh yeah, they are. So we took a meeting with Matador Records, and we ended up signing with Matador. So we continued on our journey for this Future Is Now album to, continue working on it. And so we already had some songs, we kept recording more. We put out Black Helicopters while we were at Matador. Right. And we basically recorded the rest of, or like 99% of the album while we were at Matador. And while we were almost done recording, the Arsonist album was released. And we watched what they did with the Arsonist album. And we watched them make mistakes, you know, along the way on a lot of things. And we were like, oh man, like, what are we doing? Like, are we going to put this album out and it's not going to be seen or heard? And, you know, even though we knew going into it, they had no hip hop background. We felt that their energy and their commitment was good enough. But I think in the end, we got scared that they just weren't going to know what to do. You know, we were telling them, okay, you know, you need to take out this $10,000 ad in the Source magazine. We need that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and so everything became like, well, we don't know, you know, or this, that, and the third. And so, and we watched the mistakes happen with the Arsonist album. So it got to the point where we were like, yo, we want off the label. And, you know, we told them we were unhappy. We were scared that they weren't going to do the right thing by it and all that stuff. And so they reluctantly gave us our release, you know, with a point of, you know, we have to recoup some of this back from wherever you end up taking it. And so we left them, and we were talking coincidentally at the same time to, back to where I began my story, T-Ray, who by this point had an imprint through Warner Brothers Records called Beatdown. And he had signed 2 acts to do albums. He signed Milano, and he signed the Ghetto Pros production squad. And so those are going to be his first 2 albums. And while he was working on those 2 albums, he was also putting out some singles through us, the Fat Beats. So there was like a Black Poet single. I can't even remember what, I think there was, might have been 2 Black Poet singles, but he put out a couple things on Beatdown through us, through Fat Beats. And then he ran into a lot of problems with the Ghetto Pros. And there was a lot of issues, money issues. I think it took them a long time to record the album. I think they went over budget. And it basically got to the point where Warner Brothers was just like, I don't think this is going to work, you know? And we actually had the paperwork like in hand from him to sign to them. And they got dropped. Beatdown got dropped from Warner Brothers. So once again, back to square one. You know what I'm saying? So now we looking for where we're going to put this out. We were probably thinking, you know, maybe we'll put it out through Fat Beats, whatever. And, you know, but then we were also looking at what Land Speed, you know, was doing. And Land Speed had put out, I feel like they put out, I think the 50 Cent came before us. I can't even remember the timeline right now, but they put out some records that did really well. You know, I know the Core Mega, the 50 Cent, and the Freddie Fox they put out, Bumpy Knuckles, were big releases for them. And, you know, we saw some of that stuff, and I think we were like, you know, maybe we should give these guys a chance because they're spending money. And that's what we wanted. We wanted someone who's going to spend the money to get us seen. And so ultimately, that's what we did. We went to Land Speed, and we put out the record through them, and we recorded the last, you know, I think the last 2 tracks was probably Rock Stars from Premiere and Suicide Bomb from the Beatnuts, you know, which was the last song to make the album.
Wow. And
then the album came out. And, you know, and so our whole career, we've been independent. You know what I'm saying? We just, everything, we own everything we've ever put out. So it's, you know, it all happened for a reason, you know?
Yeah. Was it a conscious decision to try to emulate the almost all the producers on Illmatic?
Not at all.
It just kind of happened.
What we did was we had a wish list of people we wanted to work with, you know, and everyone that's on that list is on the album. And then also, you know, like RZA, Muggs, like these were all people, like when we were at Geffen, this was still our wish list, you know.
Gotcha, right.
So these were all these people. It was just a big wish list. And so as we started recording and getting all these songs, it was just like, at one point we were like, yo, like, this is actually the first album since Illmatic that has Large Professor, Pete Rock, and Premier on it. Like, how crazy is that? Like, it was not planned. It was just something we realized as the album was coming together. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, totally.
How did you get Doom on the album?
Doom was around. You know what I'm saying? It was around the time when, you know, he had resurfaced. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, and he was hanging around New York a lot more in the city and like uptown and all that stuff. So he was around. He was around them, and he was just hanging out. You know what I'm saying? And so he went back to the studio with Bill one day to our Area 51 studio, and they were just drinking, smoking, eating, whatever, hanging out, and Bill was probably just playing songs, and like they just started writing to something. He got him on the Strange Universe track, and everything was recorded there, and it wasn't Doom was early beginnings of Doom. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like. No one knew where people were going to be 20 years later. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
So yeah, it was just one of the people that it's the same thing with like Suicide Bomb. Like, the Beatnuts produced it, so that's why they're on it. And then we actually got their people on it. It was like Marley Metal and Moon. Yeah. Those were their people that we became cool with because they were hanging with them. So they hanging around. That's how you got on tracks back in the day. You were in the right place at the right time. Yeah. You were just in the studio and you jumped on tracks. There's a version that doesn't exist anymore of Back to the Grill with Percy P on it, and definitely Percy P was on it, and I want to say maybe Akinelli was on it too.
Yeah.
Because they were there at the studio and they just jumped on the track, but then because of legal reasons they couldn't get any clearances for them, so they just and technically speaking, unless they recorded over it, maybe they probably recorded over it, but there might be a reel somewhere that has those verses somewhere on it,
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah. Yep.
Damn, man. Wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It threw me off there with the Percy P. Akinelli thing.
Yeah.
I had a question. Oh, okay. Yeah. Jeez, I'm just trying to.
So, rest in peace, Uncle Howie. But did you ever meet Uncle Howie?
Oh, of course. I mean,
okay.
he was. We took him to a lot of our shows. You know what I'm saying? He would come up to all of our shows. He'd come with us. Actually, there's a lot of if anyone watches the Nonfiction Green DVD, which is like a 2-hour DVD of like just random nonfiction footage, just us performing, us on the road, and interviews. All the Uncle Howie interviews were done here in my house, in my living room. We did them here. Wow. But yeah, no, he was very much around us all the time. Yeah, he was a character for real. Yeah.
Looked like it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened then with Nonfiction? Because it was kind of
the breakup years.
There was the green CD DVD.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But then it was because I do remember people were like, okay, what's next?
Right. So yeah, because the album was 2002, and then when was it? 2004, I think, was when we did the green DVD, and the plan with the green DVD was actually that was supposed to be volume 1, and because all the audio that's on there was all demos and freestyles. I have like 3 CDs full of demos and freestyles, from like early demos to unreleased demos to all of our freestyles from different radio shows, stuff like that. So that was going to be the plan. Was we put the DVD with the first one, but really it was that the DVD was the bonus. The green CD is a mixtape, and that's what we were selling, was the mixtape. And I think we probably did that because we did a promo mixtape, which was called The Past, the Present, the Future, and that was given out, and that like became its own like legendary status thing because it wasn't for sale. It was just a promo only tape, and everyone was trying to get their hands on it. It was all the past stuff we had released on single that wasn't on the album, and I think we included like 1 or 2 songs from the album, but everything else was like just like older stuff. And so I think that's why we decided to do the green CD, was like to kind of like reinvent the tape, and so we were going to do 3 volumes, and in theory it still is kind of like the concept. Like we might one day, it might be another 10 years, but I might drop a volume 2 of that and put it out. But so after that, we actually the name of the second album was going to be called Nuclear Truth. We had the title, and we had demos that we had already started. There was probably like 5 or 6 demos, rough skeletons. A lot of them some of them were just beats. Yeah. Some of them were beats that had Bill verses, but no one else's verses yet. It was all, we had like a folder of like, works in progress. And so over the course of probably between 2004 and I think we broke up in either 2005 or 2006, somewhere around there. It became challenging, with Gore-Tex, honestly, because he was hard to make everything we were doing in terms of commitments. It was like, we had shows, we had radio shows, performance shows, touring dates, and there'd be plenty of instances where he couldn't make a lot of the things we were doing. And it became a thing where it's like, we're not on a major label, I'm saying? We're independent. We're doing this all ourselves. I'm saying? It's like, we're the ones that's pulling everything. I mean, at one point I had my man PD Cologne doing Uncle Howie Uncle Howie college promotions for us. We were running Uncle Howie like a real label, I'm saying? So it was really just me and Bill. And so it got to the point where we were like, tension was building between everyone. And so Bill was just like, I can't deal with him anymore. It's like, it's enough's enough. Like, we're a group, we're nonfiction, we're 4 people, we're everything's being split equally, so everyone needs to pull their weight equally. And so it came to a decision time, and everyone was like, all right, like we're gonna dead the group, because we weren't going to kick him out and just have it be the 3 of us, because we thought that was whack, and we weren't going to replace him because we thought that was whack. So we were like, forget the group, we're just going to dead it, and that's going to be it, And also, by this time, Necro, with his psychological records, had put out an Ill Bill solo album, a Gore-Tex solo album, and a Sabak solo album. So there was a little bit of a stepping stone there for everyone to kind of step out and do solo projects. And so I think that was the decision, was like, forget nonfiction. We're just going to work on solo projects from here on out. Yeah. And it took us 10 years before we reached back out to Gore-Tex and kind of like, sat down with him and had a discussion, and was just like, look, like, if you haven't figured it out by now, this is why we felt like we felt, what I'm saying? It's like, and, do you see that? And, and I think he had time to kind of like reflect on things and be like, no, I get it. And so we made amends, and, so now we're kind of back, what I'm saying? But like, we're just back for like some touring and purposes and all stuff. And, and Gore-Tex has appeared on a lot of Ill Bill solo stuff. There's one song on Bill's record that has Sabak and Gore-Tex on it, and obviously I'm scratching on a bunch of Bill stuff, and so we haven't really come to a conclusion on if there's going to be another nonfiction record per se, but but we're not ruling it out either. What I'm saying? Right. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen organically. So yeah.
No, and that's probably the best way for it to happen.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Why try to force it?
Yeah. But Flatline, what's your job on here? What do you don't do anything?
I chill. I just,
I gotta say something. Say something. Come on.
He drops little nuggets of wisdom.
All right.
Yeah, I sit here and I drink.
He's mad. He's mad because I'm pulling all my tricks and I'm beating him tonight.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
Oh, I see. I know you were in competition with me
tonight.
Oh, yeah. We have a competition thing where we see what albums everybody has.
Yeah.
So
okay.
How fun was it to put together Bill Matic?
You know what? It wasn't any fun at all for me. I hated every minute of it. Let me tell you something. So Bill got on this mashup kick, this blends kick.
Yeah.
He's like, I mean, he was politely nudging me every day, like DMing me, like, look at this guy's blend. And he like, and it'll be like someone just throwing on like a Mobb Deep Wu-Tang mashup kind of thing. And then I'll be like, hey, that's pretty dope. And like, next day he sent me another one. Like, what do you think of this guy's thing? And so he's like, don't forget about this. I want to do this Bill Matic thing. And so I was like, all right. And the only reason was because I'm swamped these days. Like, I'm totally swamped. Like, I do my Fat Beats work is basically like a 9-to-5 remote, what I'm saying? So I'm doing that. My management company, half a dozen acts on there. Bill has a new album dropping in less than 2 weeks. What I'm saying? We were trying to like crunch time to get that together. And then he's like, oh, I want to do this mixtape too. I want to drop this next week. And I'm like,
oh, man.
Like, so that's why it's like, it was like, I was like, all right, well, send me a list of like what instrumentals you want to use, what I'm saying? And what acapellas you want to use. Yeah. And then I'll put them together and see how they sound. And so he sent me a longer list than what's on Billmatic. And we went, I did quick little mashups of all of them just to get an idea of what they'd sound like. And then we narrowed them down to like the ones we felt just fit in pocket the best out of all of them. Yeah. And then that was, so that was that. And then, I'm very happy with the outcome. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But just the in terms of, I didn't need that work at that time. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just like, it's like, yeah, sure. Set a deadline for me before we start the project. Why not? And so, but yeah, I mean, obviously, like, mashups, historically speaking, blends are great. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and I thought that they all fit well. I mean, I did my best to make sure they were in pocket and had to nudge a few things here and there, and wanted to make sure there was some scratches on them so they weren't just like fake blends. You know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah.
Yeah, it sounded dope. I don't know. I'm a big fan of it. I just didn't realize it had to come together so quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. If you look at if the first time he posted the date for his Billy album dropping, I think he also mentioned in that same post that he's dropping a mixtape, and I told him, do not post a date. Do not post a date. And so he didn't post. He said something like coming soon. And so, like, it was like the following week where he's like, all right, but I'm posting the date for next week. And I'm like, oh,
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah.
Like, damn it, man.
Yeah. But, we actually we just did this 3-show run, and we put one of them in the set. Like, we performed one of his songs over one of the Billmatic instrumentals because it's fun to do something different now,
Yeah.
That's dope.
Mm-hmm. Now, if we could just get Stetsasonic to put a date.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. I already know their headache, and I don't even know them personally. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you have that many people in a crew, you know what I'm saying? It's like it's tough to get everyone on the same page.
It's about to be Knuckles. It's about to be Knuckles.
Yeah, I know.
As not to get off on a tangent, but the thing about Stetsasonic is that they're so close.
Right.
They're like so close to being finished. It's
like yet so far.
Yeah.
The B-boys too. The B-boys are killing me.
It's kind of like
shout out to the B-boys.
Shout out to the B-boys.
Did you hear when Eclipse said, "Oh, the breakup years"? Well, this is the now. Here we go again years.
Yeah. Oh, those happen too. Yeah. I'm down with a few of those crews. So I mean, it is what it is. It's like it's plus a big thing too is like everyone is so far removed from where they were 30 years ago. When you're starting out, this is all you have is to make music and do and be around and be at every place and every event. Like none of us can do that now. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's just hard to get that same energy from everyone.
It's all life hits you all of a sudden.
Does it?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So it's kind of a minor miracle that these reunion records, so to speak.
I'm happy to hear what you put out so far. You know what I'm saying? Like, like the B-Boys one. I love playing that. The name is escaping me right now. I'm gonna tell you by the time I'm done with this. And then the Stetsasonic stuff. The Daddy-O stuff. I mean, everything's been sounding good. So I'm happy to see. I don't forget the people that we came up on. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's very important to me that. As long as they're still making good music, it's important to me that we still support them. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
absolutely.
Agreed.
Yeah,
agreed. Yep. And thank you for playing that stuff, man.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I lied. I'm not going to be able to tell you the name because it's not coming up.
Oh, it's okay. It's either this is for the Pioneers, maybe.
This is for the Pioneers. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because to me, it's like I'm still a 53-year-old little kid. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like I'm more excited about meeting and talking to a Daddy-O than I am to a 50 Cent or a Jay-Z. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like just the what they've accomplished at their time frame, and when it was all just blooming and beginning is more interesting to me than just getting a deal and becoming famous. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Different time, different days, man.
Yeah. How's the arsenal back there? Yeah. Are you continuing to collect? Do you have to weed stuff out? Do you?
A little of it's a yes and no answer. I've only gone through my collection once when my kids were born, and I had to purge some stuff, and it was good I did, because I mean I got rid of about 1,200, 1,500 records of straight trash. That you know, I mean, you're a DJ, you're on every label's mailing list, and like there's some times where like stuff just might have accidentally got stuck on the shelf, and so I cleaned out a lot of stuff that I would never play in a million years, and got rid of that, and had to shift around some records in the house. The records are in every room except for the kids' room at this point, and the bathroom. They're not in the bathroom. They're in the kitchen.
That's good.
This is the dining room. They're in the living room. They're in the bedroom. So I've got rid of those 1,500, but then over the course of the last 10 years, I've probably collected another 1,500, you know, easily. So I'm back to where I started, you know. But I try not to really get stuff anymore, because I just don't have the room. I mean, there's nowhere for them to go. You know.
I would encourage everyone to watch your Crate Diggers episode. That really showcases just how much you have going on there. That's just such a tiny fraction behind you. So
absolutely. No, it was what
I watched that. Did you ever sell that 5 times a rama 12-inch?
The sealed one? I think I probably, you know what, I don't even know, to be honest with you. I probably think I might have, but I still have a few sealed things that I'm shocked hasn't gone yet. But again, that goes back to like you know, my taste versus other people's taste. You know what I'm saying? Like
I love that song.
Lord Shafiq sealed. Like, how come someone hasn't bought that yet? You know what I'm saying? Like you know, like I mean, those 2 records to me are like, you know, like I'm gonna give you a quick little funny story. I shout out to, I know you said happy birthday to Kaz. Shout out to Grandmaster Kaz, happy birthday. He had a radio show with Tito from the Fearless Four a while back, and I was the guest on the show one night. It was me, T-Ski Valley, and another brother who I didn't know his name at the time. All right, so his name was TMP. They were calling him TMP. So we're up there, and he interviews me. He interviews T-Ski. Well, I don't remember the order, but you know, we do our thing. And then he starts interviewing this dude, TMP. And they're talking, and he's talking about, you know, being, you know, Latino back in the day, the whole thing. And then they cut to the music. And, you know, Tito throws, you know, has the DJ play the record. And the record comes on. And I listen to the first few bars. I'm like, and then my eyes pop out of my head. And I'm like, yo, that's you? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, bro, I've been looking for this record since like 1986. And he's like, bro, he's like, that's the story of my life. He's like, wow. And TMP, the microphone Prince, and he had a record that he did called what's it called? I wonder who. Oh man, it's driving me crazy. They did it. Basically, the record was a rhyme where they flipped the was it Abbott and Costello routine about who's on first?
Right.
That
Wow.
thing. They did that in a rhyme style about people thing. It was so dope. And Red Alert used to play, like they used to kill that record all the time. And the chorus is like, you know, I wonder who.
Yeah.
Who. Rigga, wonder. You know, so, and I was just like, yo, I was like, I never knew the record. And I became his best friend after that. You know what I'm saying? I was like, that goes back to what I was saying, like just the little things like that are what makes it all worth it. You know what I'm saying? So Shout out to EMP.
Eclipse, did I ever send you the Chuck D Breaks record? I think I did.
Breaks record. Yes. Yeah. With the breaks behind it. Yeah. Yep. I think I played that. Did I? Or maybe if you didn't, Preem might have sent it to me.
He may have.
He might. Yeah. Okay. Well, I got it from either one of y'all. There, probably him.
Did you get the 7-inch?
No, I didn't get the physical. No.
Okay. Well, I know you got a lot of records, so if you want, just let me know.
I'll take that one.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
It's small. Yeah.
So. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna wrap up.
Okay.
Ultra Bag, you got anything you want to add in real quick?
Eclipse, I'll get the video to you this week.
That was my next question. Yes, sir. All right. Because we leave. I get back from LA. The next day, me and B leave for Bahamadia. We leave for Europe. So
I got you, bro.
All right, thank you.
How many dates you got in Europe?
I think it's like 10 or 11 shows. Yeah, so we're like a 2-week run.
Nice.
Yeah, and then come back and hopefully rest.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ultra Mag, get off your ass.
Exactly.
In other words.
Yes.
You know what, Jennifer?
What the hell are you doing
I'm going to
anyway?
speak to you.
I have
All
words
right.
for you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. DJ Eclipse, thanks for being here tonight.
I
bro.
appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the show. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yes.
Yeah,
Even
thanks
you
for
too.
taking your time, man.
Even you too, Flatline.
Good looking out, bro.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I'll be sending you music. I gotta send you the baseball record because I haven't sent that out to anybody.
I don't know anything about a baseball record.
The Chuck D did a baseball record.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta hear that.
Oh, speaking of which,
What are you alluding to?
Oh,
there he is.
Rhyme Animal.
Yeah,
there he is.
All right. Shout out to Chuck D.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. There it is.
No doubt.
But yeah, man. Hey, anytime you want to come back, anything to promote, let us know.
Absolutely. I appreciate the platform, man.
Yeah, of course. So,
All
all right.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, DJ Eclipse.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Peace.
All right, peace.
All right.
Peace.
There we go.
All right.
I was going to say, can I not be
Embiggened?
Embiggened.
You don't want to be embiggened?
No, I don't want to be.
Oh, okay.
I really don't. Thanks, though.
I know, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Puts us all to shame.
You don't know the half.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to buy that 5 times a ramen record. I want that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. How much is it going for?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. Yep. Good stuff.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah. I love
Good
that.
stuff.
That was great.
So yeah, everybody and all the nonfiction fans, if you don't have that new reissue, instrumentals, acapellas, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool stuff.
That was a really cool idea.
Yes, I thought so too.
That was an amazing idea.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool stuff.
And any of you, if you don't listen to him, go listen to him on Shade 45.
Yeah, exactly.
Rap is out of control.
Plays the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And also listen to I gotta point the correct way. Yeah, listen to this guy and myself and Mr. Chuck D. Oh, Nick's got who was watching basketball. It's all good, bro. It's all good. You can join us every Friday night for the And You Don't Stop radio show, where I have the Spit Slam Jam of the Week. And this week's Spit Slam Jam of the Week was Chill Rob G's 1 Minute, where he recounts the story of what happened with the Power record. So if you've ever wondered, there you go. Tells you in rhyme. And speaking of Spit Slam, this show is brought to you by the Spit Slam Record Label Group. The Spit Slam Record Label Group, a Chuck D situation. Catch us on your favorite streaming platform, on Bandcamp, or visit our official web store at spitslamrecords.com. All releases are available digitally or on CD, with select titles available on vinyl and cassette. The Spit Slam Record Label Group. Throwback to the future sound. Flatline. Wait,
What are you actually doing?
All right, come on, Flatline. What is it? What do you got?
He looks like Kit.
Right.
Ill Bill, glow in the dark record.
I don't think it was glowing.
Yeah,
It wasn't glowing?
No.
We couldn't tell.
He just had a
He
red
was doing something.
Looked like Kit on Knight Rider. Was going.
Yeah,
like
right. Yep.
It was doing something. We just don't know what.
Yeah.
It was a good try.
I know.
And then you can't forget Sunday night.
Yes, and Sunday
Although-
you can.
Maybe you can.
No, Sunday nights you can join Jennifer O'Jenny and Ultramag 7 along with DJ Soulbutt for the mixtape, where you can check out music from the artists that we have coming up.
Yep.
And next week, somebody's ringing.
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer, who do we have coming up next week?
Spit Slam's very own Ant Live.
Yeah, Ant Live. There's a new record out now called Dual Cassette, and we'll be talking to him. It goes it was a Bandcamp exclusive currently, but Friday it's going to drop on all platforms. So if you haven't checked it out, you can check it out then. Good stuff. Dope EP. And might have definitely Ant Live. He was talking about possibly bringing
Overkill.
Possibly bringing his group MF911 along for the ride. So we shall see. We shall see. So that'll be next week on another episode of It's C-Doc again. And real quick, because we didn't get to talk about it at the beginning, Flatline, what's also tonight you have the Hip Hop Gods radio show.
Sure.
What are you playing this week?
New Foreign Legion, new DJ Chief featuring Geechee Suede, new Black Sea from RBL Posse, new Cujo Goody, DJ Fresh featuring E40, Larry June, and Drebo, and the Allergies featuring Booty Brown from the Far Side.
Ooh.
Oh, Foreign Legion. Oh, my God.
Yeah, you said Foreign Legion? Wow.
Oh, yeah. They've been releasing new singles. Prozac Turner's been releasing solo stuff, too.
Yeah, word up.
And it's like, definitely worth checking for.
Okay.
Yep.
Fantastic. There you go. So, out now.
Out now.
On Rap Station.
Yep, on Rap Station and at mixcloud.com/hiphopgodsradio.
Run out and get that Rap Station app.
It's free. Download it.
Yep. Won't cost you anything but your time.
Yeah.
And we got to get Flatline a sign that says, please send goat videos.
The goats, they make me laugh. They bring me joy.
I know.
The greatest of all time.
And I'm here to help.
So I want to thank my co-host tonight for being with me as always. I want to thank everybody watching us live in the chat, watching on the replay, and join us next week for another episode of It's C-Doc again.
You won, Ultra Mag.